Hi, it's Jenny Lamorgan from Lean Into Green, and I'm excited to be here with my guest today, Hunter Lovins, and I'm going to talk to you about who she is and why she's going to impact your life. But first, let me get started by telling you a little bit about Lean Into Green for those of you that are listening for the first time. I'm a green entrepreneur and owner of greenwomanstore.com, and I'm always looking for new ways to go green, and I've learned so much from interviewing our green lifestyle experts. I know you'll be glad you've joined us, and you'll experience some of the wholeness of going green personally and collectively, domestically and globally, and some of the impacts that our green lifestyles make on the planet and on peace and lasting sustainability. Lean Into Green is about learning from some of the experts in our field, and Hunter Lovins has been doing this work for over 30 years. She is a Colorado cowgirl. She's an author, a global professor, and a researcher. And she's president of Natural Capitalism Solutions, a 501c3 nonprofit in Longmont, Colorado. And she is the Chief Insurgent of the Madrone Project. So going green isn't just woo-woo, it's good for business. And Hunter Lovins teaches businesses and MBAs how sustainable practices will make you more profitable. Welcome, Hunter Lovins.
Thank you. It's an honor to be with you.
Thank you very much. And thank you for your years of really important work. You've been doing environment and development work for a very long time.
Thank you. I sometimes think if I were any darn good, we'd have solved these problems by now. But I guess it's going to take all of us and been working at it for a while.
Well, you know, I know in the 80s, we never ever even imagined that corporations would, quote, go green. But certainly with folks like yourself, we're taking a turn in a really good direction. Can you tell us, from your perspective, how business is changing?
Business is changing profoundly, and for a variety of reasons, I think all of them good. Businesses are made up of people. The individuals who are inside a lot of these big companies are witnessing what all the rest of us are witnessing with the loss around the planet of essentially all of the major ecosystems being threatened. And for example, Global Biodiversity Outlook 3 says business as usual by 2030, or 2050 maybe as early as, there'll be no living coral reefs on planet Earth. We're losing the Amazon. The oceans are acidifying. You can go on and on and on with all of the environmental challenges facing us. And these business people look at this and they say, as Ray Anderson did, I'm responsible. The way that I'm doing business is what's driving these problems, and I can change that. If I run my company, if I believe that I'm in charge, then it's up to me to be responsible. And so you have companies like Patagonia, Yvon Chouinard, that have been doing this for a very long time, and companies like Ray Anderson, or people like Ray Anderson at companies like Interface, who were early into the game and showed that there really is a business case. Patagonia has been profitable wildly and growing, even though they say to people, don't buy this product, reuse it. If you're done with it, send it back to us, we'll repair it, or we'll reclaim the materials. And people buy more and more and more of their stuff. It's if anything, it's a particularly successful marketing strategy. And companies like Unilever, massive global company that a few years back got a new CEO, a man named Paul Polman, who said, I'm not going to report quarterly to Wall Street anymore. That managing my company on a 90-day rotation is insane. It does not allow me to invest in such a way as to grow corporate value for my shareholders. And he said, we are going to become sustainable. He announced the Unilever Sustainable Living Plan, cut their environmental impact in half by 2020 while doubling the size of the company, source everything, all of their feedstocks that they get from something grown, from sustainable agriculture, and improve the lives of 1 billion people. Go, Paul. So we now have 47 separate studies from the likes of those wild-eyed environmentalists at Goldman Sachs showing that the companies that are the leaders in environment, social, and good governance policy are financially outperforming their competitors who are lagging in sustainability. It's almost to the point, as Harvard Business Review described it, it's the sustainability imperative. And HBR said, in the future, only companies that have sustainability as a goal will achieve competitive advantage, that it is not a burden on the bottom line, it is the touchstone of all of innovation. So I think we're reaching a tipping point in which the entities on the planet that have been the problem are shifting to become the solution, which means that what each of us can do is whenever we buy something, ask ourselves, is this being made by a company that has made a commitment to behaving in a more sustainable way? And then we become a driver of this solution.
I hope everybody's smiling as big as I am. This is just such news for a happy heart. It's not just the folks at the grassroots anymore. It sounds like it's coming from the top down as well.
It's coming from all sides. And this is really where it needs to come from, with the possible exception of Washington, which remains in gridlock. But you can't anymore argue that protecting the environment harms jobs. We now know, new study out just this week from some folks out in California showing that in California the green jobs are growing at twice the rate of ordinary jobs, and a quarter of them are in manufacturing. That unleashing the green economy is the best way to drive economic prosperity.
Mm-hmm. So it is happening, Hunter. It's happening, and this isn't just a story here in the United States. It's happening globally.
It's actually happening faster in Europe.
Mm-hmm.
In places like Germany, which put in place a few years back a policy that some communities in the United States have put in place, the city of Palo Alto, the city of Gainesville, Florida, the state of Vermont, called a feed-in tariff, or a clean contract. And what this says is that the utility will pay a fair rate for any green electron, anything that comes from wind or solar or any other renewable technology, over a 20-year horizon, which means that if you're an investor, investing in these green technologies is one of the safest, best investments you can make in the economy. And given that the green economy creates 2 to 3 times as many jobs, in Germany this has driven the creation of almost 500,000 new manufacturing jobs. It's brought solar in Germany to the point where it is competitive with electricity that comes from the old brown economy, and is building economic security and resilience into German communities. There are communities now in Germany that are 100% powered by renewable energy. There are communities that get more than 100% energy from sun and wind and such, and so they sell the excess. Wilpolsried in Germany earns itself $5.7 million a year for its little town selling clean energy. You take some of our bankrupt towns in the U.S., like Stockton, California, or Detroit. Why aren't we helping them to become renewable energy generators and earn their way out of bankruptcy? We have all the technologies that we need. Now, people say, well, if you pay a so-called fair price, i.e. more for green electricity, it's going to raise everybody's rates. Can't have that. And Deutsche Bank did a study of the German situation. It's true. It raised rates 2 to 3 euro a month, $50 a year on total, 8.6 billion euro more per year. Ooh, sounds like a lot. What Deutsche Bank found was, had the Germans done nothing, had they just continued to burn dirty coal, they would have paid 9.3 billion euro more. So, sorry, you're going to pay more. You're going to pay less more if you have good policy than if you don't, which is why outfits like Center for Climate Strategies are working state by state by state, helping states do the economics of, is it a good business proposition? I mean, never mind the environment, never mind job creation, never mind greater security in our communities. Is it a good business proposition to go green? And in every instance, they have found, yes, this will add money into the state economy. So the state of California recently put in place a carbon market and earned themselves about $250 million selling the right to emit to companies that didn't get smart and implement energy efficiency and still have to emit. Now, the smart companies are saving money and selling emission credits, so they're making money twice. The dumb companies have to buy these emission credits. The money generated now goes to help implement renewable energy in communities around California. This is letting markets do the heavy lifting and drive the transition to the kind of future that we all want to live in.
Even if we just look at the economics.
Just the economics. I wrote a book a couple of years back called The Way Out, Kickstarting Capitalism to Save Our Economic Ass. And it says, assume climate change is a hoax. Don't go to Vegas on the odds of that being true. But if all you are is a profit-maximizing capitalist, you would do exactly what you'd do if you were scared to death of climate change, because we know how to solve this problem at a profit. It's what the smart companies are doing. So let's go. If it turns out climate change is a hoax, we'll make a lot of money. If it turns out it's real, we'll make a lot of money. Oh, and we'll be on our way to solving the problem. Either way, let's go.
Wow. Can you talk about sustainability and the connection with financial collapses, climate change, and even food scarcity?
Sure. This is where it gets really interesting. I've been working of late with a brilliant man named John Fullerton, runs a little group called the Capital Institute. And John came out of Wall Street, J.P. Morgan, ran an investment fund there, a hedge fund, for about 18 years, and then quit, walked away, said, what we're doing with finance is driving to collapse. And as he puts it, the 2008 collapse is only the beginning. It's the canary in the coal mine. He says what we are doing with Wall Street is in large part making money through money, investing in speculation. And what we need to do is to transform finance so that we are investing in a regenerative economy. And for those of you who want more information, you can go to John's website, capitalinstitute.org, and watch some of his excellent videos or download some of his reports. And he walks through what it will take to shift the flows of money, which, after all, what drives policy around the world, into productive assets, into a clean economy, into sustainable agriculture. John's an impact investor, and he invests, for example, in the work of a man named Alan Savory, runs a thing called the Savory Institute, which is actually a part of Natural Capitalism, my little organization. Savory has shown that if you graze cattle or any grazing herd in the way that ecosystems, grasslands, co-evolved with grazing animals over millennium. You take carbon out of the air and put it into the soil. Remember when the pioneers came across the Great Plains, they found 10 feet of thick black soil. It's now down to inches of black soil because of the unsustainable way we've been doing agriculture. And Savory says we can put that carbon back into the soil, and doing this may be the only way to decarbonize the atmosphere fast enough to save humanity. Save the earth, as George Carlin says, the earth will be fine. It'll shake us off like a bad case of fleas. What we're talking about is save us, save the humans, save life as we know it on the planet. And sustainable agriculture is probably the best way to go about that. And you get the byproduct of healthy food that tastes better. When food is grown locally and it's not transported as far, you have less energy costs, and it's fresher. So there's a whole range of activities that are now popping up, everything from community gardens in Detroit to young people going back into local agriculture, to local farm stands, farmers markets, community-supported agriculture, stores even as big as Walmart selling locally produced products. Walmart has said they're going to be the biggest organic retailer in the world. Why on earth would Walmart be going green? Trust me, it's not out of the goodness of their hearts. They've worked out the business case, and they've realized that cutting waste out of their operations, using energy and all resources more efficiently, transporting things more efficiently, buying local, buying organic, are all ways to cut their costs. That increases their profits. That's why Walmart's going green.
Right, it's that bottom line. But we needed to get to this point, and we also needed the research. The research that you're doing, the research that a lot of the folks you're talking about are doing, and bringing that to the businesses, and education, as always, is a huge piece of change. We have a link for our listeners to your TED Talk on the Madrone Project. And if you can talk about that project and how you're changing education.
Sure. Among other things, I'm a professor. I teach business at Bard MBA in Manhattan, at Bainbridge Graduate Institute in Seattle, at the University of Denver. And as much fun as that is to be in the classroom interacting with students, we need to do this at scale. We need to get this information out to the world. The only way that's going to happen is through online education. Mm-hmm. So we have teamed with a number of people, groups, companies to build a way of delivering sustainability education very affordably anywhere on the planet. And it's called the Madrone Project. We are, I hope, within a week or so, going to sign a contract with a very large educational publishing company to begin producing short, curated modules. Think TED Talks that are available on an app, but it's not just the talk, the little short video. The app allows you to access reports, websites, other videos, a whole array of educational material, so that you will have, in a sense, a classroom on your iPad available to people anywhere in the world. We've built the first 2 modules of this, and people who come to the Natural Capitalism website can check those out. And we're going to be building dozens of these modules over the next year and embedding them in business school classes. An accrediting entity, AACSB, recently said to the business schools that it accredits, if you want to stay accredited, you're going to have to add a sustainability component to your curriculum.
Oh, wow.
And many of these schools are like, what? What's that? How do we do that? Our professors aren't trained in this. Well, just download the Madrone modules, and there you go.
A teacher's dream to have access to students globally.
Sure, and with any luck, it will have the impact of empowering young people around the globe who, after all, want a say in their future to have access to the best of the sustainability thought leaders from around the planet and be able to teach themselves, take this knowledge, and begin implementing it in their own communities. That's ultimately the dream of Madrone.
Wow, it's wonderful, Hunter, wonderful work. Now, another project of yours is the Alliance for Sustainability and Prosperity. It's asapforall.org. Tell us something about that.
I guess everybody has to have a swing for the fences project in their lives, and this is mine. A group of us were asked by the King of Bhutan, it's a little kingdom north of India, south of China in the Himalayan mountains, to build a new development paradigm for the world. And I got assigned the task of writing the section on transforming the global economy. So I've been pulling together some of the brightest people I can find on just exactly how would we go about doing this. And a group of us will be meeting in about 2 weeks' time in Britain to begin putting some real edges around this. We created the website, asapforall.org, as a place where individuals around the world can add their voice. What do you think the future ought to be? What should the economy be? What does economic democracy mean? What's resource policy that makes sense for the world? If you have an opinion on it, go to the website and click on to the public forum and write it down. Your idea could well wind up being incorporated into this new development paradigm. Because I firmly believe that all of us are smarter than any one of us, and it's going to take the brain power of the whole world. And if you choose to participate, you will be working alongside, again, some of the best sustainability thought leaders, people like Dr. Robert Costanza, who's one of the founders of the field of ecological economics, Dr. Josh Farley, another of the founders of ecological economics, David Suzuki, the Canadian filmmaker, Frances Moore LePay, Diet for a Small Planet, Richard Wilkinson and Kate Parrott, who wrote the book The Spirit Level on how do we address issues of inequality, Dr. Ernst von Weizsäcker, co-author with me on a book called Factor 4, and people from Asia, from India, Ashok Khosla, founder of Development Alternatives, Deborah Roberts from South Africa, people from Latin America, people from all over the world who've been working on these issues for a very long time have all come together to be a part of this international expert working group. But I argued early on, we need the help of bright ideas everywhere. And so we created the ASAP website so that everybody can play. And our goal is that when this report is finished, we will carry it to the United Nations. I've been working with the UN Development Program, with the UN Environment Program. One of our co-chairs is Jackie McGlade, who's been running the European Environment Agency. Take it to the World Bank, to the International Monetary Fund, to financiers on Wall Street. Take it to the places where people are making day-to-day decisions and show them that there is a better way that we can build a world, as Bucky Fuller said, that works for 100% of humanity. So that's the goal of ASAP. And I would argue we need it as soon as possible.
And it sounds wonderful because it's coming from all levels. People can contribute as well, from the grassroots, because at the grassroots we're really interacting on a daily level, on a daily basis with the water, with the land. So it just sounds wonderful. I can't wait for it to be published. And another thing that you're doing, you're mentoring at the Unreasonable Institute's semester events. And you must be excited about this work. What are you doing there? And that's something you're doing currently, correct?
Yes. The Unreasonable Institute is one of my favorite organizations. A pair of young people graduated undergraduate and turned right around and created the Unreasonable Institute, Daniel Epstein and Teju Ravishwan. Every year they bring to Boulder, Colorado, 25 young entrepreneurs from around the world, put them up in a fraternity house. The university students in Boulder are all gone for the summer, so they rent one of these houses called the Unreasonable Mansion. And they bring in 60-odd mentors, people, entrepreneurs, inventors, government officials, funders, everybody that can work with the entrepreneurs to help make their little companies a reality. The admission is that you have a company that is going to make life better for at least 1 million people.
Wow.
So from the get-go, they are trying to scale the impact that entrepreneurs can have around the world.
Mm-hmm.
And this winter, early January, I climbed on a very large ship, the Semester at Sea ship, and sailed on the first leg of a trip around the world with Unreasonable at Sea. It was a joint venture of the Unreasonable Institute and Semester at Sea. And this Friday I'll be getting back together with that team and planning for next year's voyage. And this is taking some of our entrepreneurs who have been through the Unreasonable Institute or entrepreneurs that are ready to go to scale globally. And we worked with them, and then we worked with the 600-odd students who were on the Semester at Sea ship, undergraduates, who were so keen to get to interact with our entrepreneurs. There's a real sense of excitement in young people that we can invent a whole new future. We can make this work. And putting them together with the entrepreneurs was just incredibly exciting. I was giving a talk to the whole community, and a young man said, I've always wanted to be an actor, and hearing you talk, I think maybe I should become an environmentalist. Maybe I should study something else than theater and drama. What should I do? It's like, oh, gosh, you're asking me. So I thought for a minute, and I said, think about the people in the world who influence millions of people. Who are they? They're the actors. They're the musicians. They're the artists. These are the people that, when a song goes viral, millions of people around the world will listen to it. When a movie actor has a smash hit, millions of people are going to see it. And when they speak, people listen, much more than they listen to people like me. So I said, what's in your heart is to be an actor, be the best one you can. And I guess that comment changed his life. He wrote a song about that, which has now become the theme song for the Unreasonable Institute. And he will be with us this Friday here in Boulder, talking to other students about how they can come on board the ship and change their lives.
Wow, that's a powerful story. Young people are contributing so much, and the changes that are taking place, that I see taking place, are certainly inspiring. But I think it is from the young people that the new innovations are really going to come and make such a difference. Do you tell us any more stories that you see, some sustainable development solutions coming from young people?
Whenever I get into a funk. I look at the science. I look at how scary things are. And the recent science that's just really alarming is the gouts of methane emissions now coming out of the Arctic. The Arctic is melting. Mm-hmm. I guess yesterday's news was the North Pole is now a lake, not frozen solid anymore. And there are Russian scientists who have been measuring the emissions of methane from the permafrost. The climate scientists have long said this is one of the signs of a tipping into collapse when the permafrost starts melting and the methane starts emitting. You look at things like that and you go, oh, what can we possibly do? On the ship was a young team from India who have discovered a way to make carbon nanotubes out of carbon exhaust. You take the waste from say a coal plant or a natural gas plant, and through a proprietary process they've developed, very cost effectively make it into these carbon nanotubes, which are highly sought after by industry. You can embed them in concrete and steel and plastics and a whole lot of things, making carbon fibers that increase the strength of whatever material you're embedding them in. They're not used as widely as people would like because heretofore they've been pretty expensive to produce. This young team has figured out how to do it and clean up the atmosphere at the same time. When I work with young entrepreneurs like that, it's like, you know what, we can solve these problems.
And they look at the problems as opportunities, and they just dive in. I think it probably takes youth and and not an awareness of so many of the blocks that we've had in the past. A lot of them financial.
Sure, there's no precedent for anything until it's been done for the first time. And young people don't know it's not possible, so they go and do it.
It's wonderful. It's wonderful.
So I try to spend as much of my life as I can hanging out with young people.
With young people.
Our office is a bubbling stew of young interns, people who are in school, just out of school, who come and spend 6 weeks or half a year volunteering with us to learn what it is that we do and then go off and spread this into organizations all around the world.
It's wonderful. And you must wake up with a smile on your face nearly every day. Very inspiring.
Pretty much, yes.
Yeah, I would think. Now, I want to...
said we're confronted by insurmountable opportunities.
There you go. There you go. In 1981, you wrote a book on nuclear energy, and I live here in San Diego, where we've just closed down a nuclear plant, thank goodness. And
congratulations! That was a long slog, and y'all got it done. Well done.
How many decades before we're still out of complete danger? But it's built right on the ocean, and on the San Andreas Fault, and all of the danger signs that nobody was listening to, decades ago. So just in regards to nuclear energy, where do you see us headed nationally and globally?
Actually, I'm a huge fan of nuclear energy. Remotely sited 93 million miles away, the energy reaches us in 8 minutes, and it's free essentially forever.
And it's solar.
And it's solar, yeah. Yes, the mistake we made was trying to do that here on Earth. Mm-hmm. And the real mistake was in not recognizing that it never made economic sense. There is no commercial nuclear industry. Even after all of these decades, you cannot build a nuclear plant without federal subsidies anywhere in the world. And at the same time, we have the International Energy Agency saying that solar will surpass natural gas within about 5 years. We have Germany pledging to shut down all of its nuclear power and go 100% renewable by 2050. Scotland will be 100% renewable by 2020. It makes business sense to use energy efficiently and then use renewable energy. It never made business sense to use nuclear. It was simply the guilt of the guys who built the first atomic bombs of there has to be some peaceful use for this awesome technology that we've created. And you and I and the rest of American taxpayers have subsidized that guilt ever since, putting into our communities these bombs waiting to go off, as we discovered at Fukushima.
And
closing down San Onofre is a brilliant move. It will save Southern California Edison an enormous amount of money over continually trying to patch it and keep it going. So it was a brilliant business decision, which is really why they did it. It will cost to clean it up. Decommissioning a nuke is about as expensive or more so than building it in the first place. Dealing with the waste that we've already produced is a job with a very long future. But making the decision to not do any more, the first rule of holes is when you find you're in one, stop digging. And congratulations to the people of Southern California who pulled this one off. Well done.
It's the first step, like you say. It's the first step in having a greener future here for sure. So we're at the end of our interview, and your work has evolved through the years, although I don't know how much your work has evolved because we're having more success with everything that you've always brought. But how have you seen the collective quest towards sustainability evolve and people's hearts and minds changing?
The one real change is, I think, the recognition that we're all in this together, and that business people are not inherently evil. They are essential to implementing the solution, whether it be small, local, green businesses or enabling the worst of last century's businesses to go green. Implementing sustainability is something that every one of us can do every day, wherever we work, wherever we live, by looking at how we do things and asking ourselves, how could I do this better? How could I do it more efficiently? How could I do it at lower cost? How can I contribute in my community, in my job, in my life to building a green world?
Thank you, Hunter Lovins, for all of your work. We can all learn more about Hunter's work at naturalcapitalismsolutions.org. We have some links for you to her. It's NatCap Solutions, NATCAP Solutions.org. We also have a link for the Madrone Project and for ASAPforall.org. We have a link for her books and her resource videos and case studies. This is an amazing page, and also where you can listen to her TED Talk. So thank you, Hunter Lovins, for all that you've done and for all that you're continuing to do. You're an American hero. And thank you for joining Lean Into Green.
Thank you. It's been an honor.
Thank you. And thank you to all of you for joining us. I know that your spirit is lifted by hearing the good news of Hunter's work and her Natural Capitalism Solutions. Keep listening as we all lean into green a little deeper on our collective quest towards sustainability. Bye for now.